What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, The Man Welding, and today I want to talk about why I chose the Aprilia RS660 as my very first motorcycle, and I also want to give my review of the bike now that I've ridden it over 1,000 miles. So let's get into it. Why did I choose to buy a brand new Aprilia RS660 as my very first motorcycle? Well, there's a few reasons. And one of the big ones is that I wanted a bike that I could grow into. Now, I know there is a lot of conflicting and differing opinions and information out there on the internet about what size and what style bike a beginner rider should buy as their first bike. And I listened to that information and I took it into consideration. And ultimately, I decided for myself that I did not want to buy what is traditionally considered a beginner bike, something like a 250 or even a 400. And not that I think that there's anything wrong with owning that type of bike. It's just that me personally, I knew I wanted something that I could have for a long time and that was capable of much higher speeds than what those smaller beginner bikes are capable of. Now, this was not me thinking, hey, I'm the shit, I can handle a 600 no problem. That was not my thought process. My thought process was buy once, cry once. You know, I'm a big proponent of buying something that is high quality, buying what you want, and then just keeping it and not having to fuck with it. And as you guys know, the used market, when it comes to automobiles, motorcycles included, people are crazy. People are asking damn near MSRP for used, busted-ass motorcycles that are like 10 years old. I'm not going to be the guy that go and purchases somebody else's problem bike that may or may not have been well maintained and has no warranty, and I'm just not going to do it, right? So for me, I wanted to buy something brand new, and I ended up with the RS660. So the reason I chose that as opposed to other bikes within its class, something like the CBR 600 or a ZX6R or a Gixxer 600 or anything like that, there's a few reasons, right? So one of those reasons was simply the proximity to a dealership. Now, I live in Fort Myers, and the fact of the matter is the only brand of sports bike that I could purchase brand new within a 20-mile radius of my home happened to be Aprilia. Now, I'm sure that's not the case for most of you because I know that their dealerships are kind of sparse throughout the country. But for me, there's a local motorcycle shop called House of Trikes and Bikes of Fort Myers. Shout out to them. And they carry Aprilias. Now, if I wanted something from another brand, I was looking at a trip out to like Tampa or Orlando or Miami. And the fact of the matter is, I wanted to buy a bike and I wanted to ride that bike home. I did not want to go and get a trailer and put the bike on a trailer and trailer it back to my house. That did not interest me in the slightest. What I wanted to do was buy a motorcycle, hop on that bad boy, and drive it straight home from the dealership. And that is exactly what I did. You guys, I took the MSF on a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. All the bike shops were closed on Monday, but that Tuesday after work, I drove straight to House of Trikes and Bikes in Fort Myers, told them what I was looking for. They had the exact bike in stock, the RS660, the base model. And, they asked me what my experience was, and I told them I virtually had no experience at all. And they were very hesitant to let me test ride that bike. They said that typically they don't let people with no experience test drive sports bikes. So what they offered me was to go ahead and hop on a different bike. It was a Royal Enfield, like a dirt bike style bike. They said, hey man, go take this around the parking lot so we can just kind of get a feel for how competent you really are, and we'll go from there. So I cruised their little dirt bike around the parking lot. They saw that I knew what I was doing, and they said, all right, we'll go ahead and, take it out for a test drive on the street. And that was my very first time riding a motorcycle in traffic on the streets. Was on a Royal Enfield, a dirt bike, and you guys, I had a huge smile on my face. It was exhilarating, and it was exciting, and it was a little scary, but I took it around the block. I brought it back, and he was like, all right. So he pulled the RS660 out into the parking lot, and he's like, man, he was really apprehensive about letting me ride this bike because, understandably so, right? It's a lot of bike for somebody with no experience. But they told me, hey, man, just be careful, take it around the parking lot. I drove a few laps around the parking lot, and he's like, well, I'm going to let you take this bike on a test drive, but please just don't make me regret this decision. And I said, bro, trust me, I don't want to drop this bike or fuck it up any more than you don't want me to. So with that being said, off I went. I took the bike around the block. I had a great time. I was taking it easy. First time ever on a 600 sports bike. But it didn't feel unmanageable. It felt fine. I was like, man, I could really do this. This is great. Feels comfortable. I love it. So I pulled back into the parking lot after the test drive, and I said, hey, bro, this is the bike for me. So we went in there. We did the paperwork, and, within an hour, I was driving that thing home. And that was my experience. So then I had the bike. This was about a month ago this all happened. And I decided, once I hit 1,000 miles, I'm going to make a review and talk about the things that I like and the things that I don't like about the bike. So let's get into it. What are some of the things that I like about the bike? First and foremost, I like the size and the power of the bike. Now, this is important to me because I'm not a very big guy. I'm not super tall, and I'm not super heavy. So I wanted a bike that was going to feel substantial on the interstate at high speeds, something I could take up to its close to its top speed and not feel like I was absolutely being blown around like a feather in the wind, whether it be from gusts or traffic or whatever. I wanted something that was going to feel planted and substantial at high speeds, but also feel light enough and agile enough that I could maneuver it comfortably through winding sections of road. I wanted to be able to throw the bike around, right? I didn't want to feel like I was prohibited in maneuverability because of the weight of the bike. So for me, I believe the bike weighs something a little over 400 pounds wet, as they like to say, and it's perfect. It's not too big, it's not too small. The ergonomics are really nice. They're comfortable. They're aggressive, but not extremely aggressive. Now, I say all this without having the experience of riding a lot of different motorcycles to compare it to, but, I've commuted on this bike a lot. I've taken it to and from work and to the gym, and, when you're just kind of cruising through traffic, it's comfortable, and I've also, twisted that throttle and gotten a little wild on the bike in a more aggressive stance. And it also feels great when you're doing that. So it's a really good all-around type of bike. Perfect balance of aggression and comfort. Some other things I like about the bike is the fact that it has all of the electronic rider assist built in, and they come standard with the bike. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about ABS, traction control. It also has cruise control. It has like a wheelie control option, and it has different driver modes. The main three being commute, dynamic, and individual. Now, for the first 700 miles or so, I left the bike in commute mode because, like I say, I'm a very inexperienced motorcyclist, and I understand that I need to remain safe and not push my limits too hard. And of course, this is all personal preference for me, guys. You guys do whatever you think is best for yourselves. But for me, I really wanted to work my way up to using this bike's full potential. So that means keeping it in commute mode, keeping the traction control up, keeping the engine braking pretty high, keeping the ABS on. And I don't say that meaning that I am relying on the electronic rider assist to make me a good rider, but it is a little bit of peace of mind knowing that those things are turned on and potentially can help me if I find myself in a sticky situation. Some other things I like about the bike are purely aesthetics. I think it's a great looking bike. You know, it's an Italian brand, Aprilia is, and I think we all can agree that when it comes to high performance automobiles, the Italians are head and shoulders above when it comes to design, and the RS660 is no exception. It's a beautiful bike, and it has a very premium feel to it. You know, when you hop on the bike, it just feels like a quality premium product, and it certainly is. You know, I like the fact that it has bright LED lights both front and rear, so not only does that help me see where I'm going in low light conditions, but also it helps the other drivers on the road be more likely to see me, which in turn is going to increase the likelihood that they don't hit me, and that is important to me. So the really high quality lights that Aprilia uses on these bikes, I appreciate that. Another thing I appreciate is that they use high quality rubber. These bikes come stock with Pirelli Rossos, and I don't know much about motorcycle tires, but from what I can tell, this is a premium tire. They really did not skimp or cheap out when it comes to choosing tires for this bike. And it instills a lot of confidence in me as the rider to know that I've got good rubber underneath me. It feels glued to the road, and I can confidently drive in an aggressive manner if I choose to do so. Another thing I really like about the bike is some of the options it comes standard with that some of the other bikes in its category do not. The two main ones being the cruise control function and the quick shifter. Now, cruise control, I'm probably not going to use it very much. I have tested it out to make sure it works, and it does. It works great, and I think in certain situations it's going to be a lifesaver in terms of just helping me not be so fatigued and remain more comfortable on longer trips that I take on my bike. And when it comes to the quick shifter, it's a game changer when it comes to things like going from a dead stop to running that bike up to high speeds. And for those of you who don't know, a quick shifter is essentially what's the word I'm looking for? It's just a part that is installed on the bike that allows you to upshift and downshift through the gears without engaging the clutch. So you can basically just pin the throttle and kick that quick shifter up through the gears, and it makes it extremely fast, going from a slow speed to a high speed, to put it simply. And it sometimes, you know, it can be convenient when you're downshifting as well. So the quick shifter is nice. One more thing I really like about the bike is the fact that I bought it brand new and it comes with a factory warranty of 2 years. And there is an available option to purchase an extended warranty for a total of 4 years of having the bike under warranty, which I think is very nice because although no brand is perfect, Italian bikes in particular have a reputation for being finicky and having problems. Now, I know some of the earlier production years of the RS660, they were plagued by engine failure and a lot of problems. Now, the bike I purchased was produced in 2023, and by that time, a lot of these problems have been worked out, and I have confidence in my bike that it's not going to have any issues, and so far I have not had any issues, but if I do, they will be covered under the factory warranty. So I love that about the bike as well. So a quick recap, some of the things I like is just the design, the aesthetics, the smoothness and the power of the engine and the transmission. I love the feel of the ergonomics and the high quality materials they use to build the bike. the display on the dash. It's a TFT display. It's extremely bright and easy to read during the day. Also at night, it is just very user-friendly and high quality, and it adds to the overall riding experience. I like that they chose to add all of the electronic driver assist, and you can dial them up or dial them all the way down and turn them off. If whatever you choose, it's available to you. There are different driver modes, so it makes it very easy to dial the aggression of the bike back. If you're a newer rider or if you're more experienced, you can just put it in the most aggressive mode and just tear it up and have fun with it. So it's nice that all those options are available. A few of the things that I don't love about the bike, and really there's not many, I'm kind of nitpicking here, but the first one is the fact that the rear brake is extremely soft and spongy, and that is in stark contrast to the front brake. Now, Aprilia uses a Brembo brake system on their bike, and the front brake is extremely powerful. It will stop you on a dime no matter what speed you're traveling at, and you need to be careful if you find yourself in an emergency braking situation that you don't squeeze that front brake too hard, because chances are you're going to go over the handlebars if you do. So be mindful, practice progressive braking, and just be aware that in my experience, the rear brake, it's not useless. It works, but you really got to apply a lot of pressure to that brake lever if you want any substantial braking power. Now, I don't know if that's common in other bikes or if it's uncommon, but just my experience, this being the only bike I've ever owned and really only ever ridden, is that the rear brake is soft and spongy and the front brake is extremely powerful. So just know that going into it. The second thing I'll mention, and this is no surprise to anybody, is that maintenance costs are high. You guys, it's not cheap to do the maintenance, especially if you go through the dealership because you want to keep the bike within warranty. Now, I took my bike in for a 600-mile service, and that's essentially just an oil change and tightening up some bolts and checking the torque specs and all that. And it cost me close to $400. And that's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of fact that if you own the RS660, don't expect to be saving money when it comes to maintenance. It is going to be expensive. Now, expensive is a relative term. To me, it's money well spent to know that my bike is running good and I can trust it to do what I want it to do and what I need it to do, and to keep me safe when I'm riding it. If you're the type of person who likes working on your own bike, maybe an Italian bike is not the best choice for you. But me, I'm a welder. I'm not a mechanic. I don't mind letting the professionals do the warranty work on the bike. Now, once it's out of its warranty period, I will consider either doing the work myself or finding a smaller, maybe independent motorcycle mechanic and getting with them and saving some money. But in the meantime, I'm just going to shell out the dough and get it done properly. And the third and final thing that I'll say that I don't love about the bike, and that is the stock exhaust. Now, there's nothing wrong with the exhaust, but the sound it makes is kind of underwhelming. And in my opinion, it sounds kind of wimpy. Now, I've heard the bike with aftermarket exhausts installed, and it sounds a whole hell of a lot better. It's got, the engine, it's a great engine on this bike. And in my opinion, the stock exhaust just does not do the engine justice. Now, that being said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It doesn't sound bad. It's kind of underwhelming. It's kind of wimpy. And in the future, I probably will look into upgrading the exhaust, but seeing as I just purchased the bike, I spent a lot of money on it. There's a lot of cost associated initially with buying the bike and registering it and insuring it and all that good stuff. So I don't have the extra money laying around to go and drop $1,000 or $2,000 on a new exhaust system. I'm gonna hold off for a while. And but like I said, I wanted to come up with at least 3 things that I could point to that I don't love about the bike, and I really had to reach for those, because overall I love the bike. I think Aprilia has done an absolutely great job with it. I think they filled a hole in the market that, for me, as a new rider who didn't want a 400, didn't want a 250, didn't want a leader bike, and didn't really even want to jump into something like a CBR 600, this bike is perfect for me. I have no regrets with my purchase, and I look forward to keeping this bike for years to come and just, continuing to grow my skills as a rider and enjoy myself and have fun and make memories. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video, guys. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out, to check out the video, and hopefully if you're considering getting an RS660, maybe this video has helped you come to a decision. So that being said, you guys stay safe out there. Keep it cool. Peace out. I'll catch you on the next one.